Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Visit our website, whoknewpodcast.com, email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter and on Facebook at Who Knew Podcast. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast. Today's episode is episode 12 of season 3, Sound of Drums. The Master has escaped the end of the universe and has become the newly elected Prime Minister, Harold Saxon. This episode is written by Russell T. Davis, directed by Colin Teague. It originally aired on the 23rd of June, 2007, and it was watched by 6.9 million viewers in the overnight ratings. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Heather.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Here's Josh.
Hi, this is Brian.
Hello, this is Auburn.
It's not the name I chose, but I like it. You may call me Kelsey.
Hi, this is Frank. Hi, this is Frank. Hi, this is Frank.
When we last saw our trio of time travelers, they were in trouble from terribly teethed terrestrials. The Doctor fixes Jack's vortex manipulator, and the three transport themselves to the streets of 2008 London. The Doctor says the Master must be nearby, because at the last moment, the Doctor altered the Tardis with his sonic so that it would only travel back to its last location. On a nearby Jumbotron, they see Harold Saxon, the newly elected Prime Minister, and realize he is the regenerated Master.
I really like how Martha was saying that she recognized his voice right before
In Utopia, at the end of Utopia.
Yeah.
She puts it all together.
Yeah,
I love
she
that.
puts all together.
Which, I made a note about that too. I never realized that she was the first one to get
Yeah.
it.
Martha's always putting everything together, pretty much.
Yeah, it's fun when a companion has such a big win like that.
It's kind of interesting that most companions ask questions that the Doctor answers, but Martha tends to say statements that the Doctor has to maybe expand on or agree with almost.
Or dismiss.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Only in the beginning when he was being crappy to her.
There was a couple times in this episode.
Yeah.
There was a couple times when she was very dismissive of him in this episode as well, which I guess we'll get to.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. I don't have a specific example to back that up. I just have that feeling that there are a couple times.
The opening I thought was really different and unique in that all of a sudden they're in the modern day London. It's like, well, wait a minute. We know that they're somewhere else. And they do a flashback to tell them how they got there. But it was almost like opening. Then we have another opening. And then the opening. It's just all done before the credits.
Had they not done it as a flashback, I think they would have had to reintroduce you to the end of the universe and the future kind. And just telling it in flashback is just kind of like, yeah. This is what happened, and now we're moving on with the story. So I kind of like that they got it out of the way quickly.
Yeah, I had a similar note. But to back up a little bit, the last episode, Utopia, Sound of Drums, and then the one following this, are considered a three-parter, but Russell considers Sound of Drums and The Last of the Time Lords to be a two-parter, and not including Utopia. But to me, they are sort of a trio, and to end Utopia on such a high energy and high stakes where somebody else has control of the TARDIS, and then to come down to modern day London and they're literally sitting down and talking about what's going on. It wouldn't work normally, like you have such a high almost climax and then you take the next scene and they're just sitting down talking. But here it works, and I think it's great.
I wish they would have officially made it a three-parter. I'm just remembering like this and the officially second part of this episode, I was very confused at a lot of spots. And I think if they had officially made it a three-parter, I would have watched all three episodes back to back.
When Harold Saxon / the Master at the beginning comes down the steps and gives his speech, his televised speech, he says what England needs now is a doctor, and in that snide kind of look. Did he know at that point the Doctor had come back? Or was, knowing that he's coming some point? Or just has he been laying this out for a while?
First off, I don't like that line because it's too on the nose.
Literally what he did, I think.
Yes.
But I think he knows. He knows the Doctor's going to come after him. It's what the Doctor and the Master do.
I do like the line leading right into the credits. I mean, it's cliche, but it worked and was fun for me.
I think the on-the-nose thing was intentional, and I think...
Oh, totally.
the Master is nuts. So
Right.
for me, it was... Yeah, you would say that. Like, of course you just said that. And I think that perchance, if the Doctor hadn't figured out that Harold Saxon was the Master, that would be the ultimate, like, I don't know what I'm
Right.
trying
Reveal.
to say. Reveal. There you go.
I also really like the couple comments referring to the universe of Doctor Who. Like the reporter says, the Prime Minister's just come back from the palace to the rebuilt number 10 Downing Street because Downing Street got blown up in World War III with Harriet Jones. And then Jack is on the phone real quick and he just says, "Oh, I'm calling some friends," but there's no answer. And he's calling Torchwood, so it's like they are referencing the fact that things have happened before, things are going on concurrently, and it's all part of this one big world.
I want to know why they couldn't say Torchwood when they're
He
talking
doesn't want
about
to say
that.
Torchwood.
No, but I mean, at that point he doesn't, and then later on, well, we'll get to that. But the Master references his friends, but doesn't say
Right.
Torchwood, and it just seemed
But they do-
odd for that way not to put it in that area.
Because the Doctor
Because
doesn't.
of what happens later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all. I don't know why I didn't think of that. That's perfect. That's all I needed.
They just didn't, later on when it becomes more of a thing, they probably didn't
Right.
want it to just come out of left field. So they dropped a little
Right.
hint in there.
Okay.
The Doctor and Jack follow Martha to her apartment and do a computer search of Harold Saxon. He could only have arrived about a year and a half ago because of what the Doctor did to the TARDIS. The Master created a fictional history for Harold Saxon and has been gaining power ever since. Both Jack and Martha were planning to vote for him, but can't really give a reason as to why. Absent-mindedly, Martha starts to tap her fingers in a 4-beat pattern.
The scene is different as far as the camera angles. I don't know if you guys noticed those. More Dutch angles
yeah.
and
Yeah, the Dutch angles,
the
yeah.
high angles. I think here it actually works because they're confused. You have an uneasy feeling watching. Why don't they know what's going on? They're figuring things out. Wherein I think when we watched The Idiot's Lantern, we didn't like it then.
In Idiot's Lantern, it was more campy.
Is that
So-
the one with the hungry TV lady?
Yes.
Yes.
And the coronation.
Right.
Good job.
I was about to ask, but I let my brain work on it for a minute.
And also here, Freema, the actress that plays Martha, couldn't tap in the 4 beats and speak her lines at the same time. So that's why you have that cut to her just tapping.
The close-up cutaway.
I actually
That would be hard.
Yeah, I do think that would be difficult. I mean, maybe if you're a drummer and you're good at that type of thing, but I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, and there was a lot of that this episode, a lot of extras, and other people had to maintain that beat.
And they didn't speak, so they could do
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, can you rub your belly and tap your head at the same time?
And when Martha's asking him, well, who is the Master? Tell me what's going on. That's all you need to know. Was so dismissal. And it's like, whoa. Why, from the Doctor, that just did not seem right at this point. But he's just so, I guess, engrossed in the Master. He just, found out he's
overwhelmed.
around. And now he's the Prime Minister and was like, what is his plan? So he's just, focusing on those things.
What he's going through at that moment is what the Ninth Doctor went through when he saw Dalek. And it's the Master, and he survived. And he's got a jumble of emotions going through his head right now, and he's processing.
But I found it really ironic and telling that Martha gets the call from Tish and dismisses it.
Oh, yeah.
So what the Doctor just did to her, she's doing to Tish. Oh, like that matters, is what she said. It's
Right.
like, yes, it does matter.
Well, not
Tish
the,
has
not a phone
information.
call, but like
The message.
40,
message.
42 messages. Like there were 42, or was it 24?
23 or
Yes, but
something like that.
strategically, the
Yeah.
final one was the one she needed to listen
Yeah.
to. Or maybe the first one. I don't know. What word are you? But unimportant.
How do answering machines work in 2007?
Yeah. I don't remember that.
I think they work similarly
Similarly to
to
the...
today. I don't think we've advanced that far in answering machine technology.
Also, I couldn't stop thinking, and I get it, there's the whole, like, archangel mind control type thing. But I couldn't stop thinking, how could you invent a history where you graduated from Cambridge or whatever, and nobody's like, did you ever see that guy there? I never saw that guy there. I mean, if he's running for prime minister, you'd think someone would figure that
Like
out.
Obama?
But
Oh.
but the Archangel Network was working on them so that they
Yeah.
didn't
They
really
didn't
question
question
him.
it.
You're right.
And the tiny percentage of the people who weren't affected did figure it out
And we're dealt with probably.
and are being dealt with.
Another continuity, I guess, plus is that the rack with the underwear is still there in Martha's room.
Oh, I didn't
That's
notice
funny.
that.
And it's been 4 days
Yeah.
for her.
For her,
Earth
for her
time.
life. For her, yeah.
For the Earth time. So another 4.
With the election of Saxon, it's interesting watching it now. We're in 2017. Not to get too political, but it is very interesting to see like a prime minister come to power in a questionable way.
Who's nuts?
Yes, and
Who's a
also
megalomaniac?
with the Master. I know as someone who's only watched the New Who primarily, this is my first encounter with the Master. And I will say, after seeing a few other villains towards the end of the seasons, it's really nice to have a person, that is our main villain. And I like the Moriarty aspect of him being like a really powerful foil to the Doctor. But yeah, going along with his hypnosis and some of his other powers, as people who have watched the more classic stuff, how does this Master compare to some of those like previous Masters that I think we've seen, right?
He's way more nuts.
Okay.
And he's clean shaven,
And he's clean shaven, yeah.
but he still wears black.
Okay.
And
He came back from the dead.
yeah. And his weapon, I'll get to that when we get to
Okay.
it.
Yeah, the Master was Moriarty. So if you just consider a Moriarty, and many times he wore a disguise. Many times he really deceived people, and everybody thought he was on their side until his aims took precedent, and then he would betray them. In a lot of the stories, they were always referred to as they were friends.
Okay.
They both kind of wish they could still be friends. I think it's called The Colony in Space. Really boring episode. But at the end of it, literally everything's over, and the two of them are in the room, and this was the third Doctor, John Pertwee. And they literally go, well, until we see you again. And they shake hands, and all right, see you later. And they just part, So it's not hatred.
Okay.
There's anger, there's betrayal, but they were friends.
For those who only know the Modern Who, the way I kind of compare it is the new, X-Men movies and Professor X and Magneto.
Yeah.
So
Frenemies.
that's what
Perfect.
I think, kind of a correlation.
And do you think he got crazier just because of the modern style of writing in the show? Or is it kind of explained because he was hiding as a human at the end of the universe for a while? Like, do you guys have any thoughts in your own kind of headcanon?
I don't think it's ever explained.
Just this regeneration's personality,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, see, this was my first introduction to the Master as well, except I knew the character. But, at this point, we were still just watching the new show. We hadn't watched any of the classic ones. So it was just John Sim, guy who was nuts.
Well, this he was resurrected by the Time Lords, so maybe something
Yeah.
went wrong
Right.
in the
Yeah.
resurrection, and the brains got scrambled. You don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Could be.
The regeneration went
Maybe
wrong or
it's kind
something.
of like that trope that you can bring people back, but they're never the same.
Oh gosh, Buffy. Don't do it.
But one classic episode that comes to my mind is, I believe, the Sea Devils, also with the third Doctor, John Pertwee, where the Master is like in a detention facility, and he goes and he visits him like you would a family member or a friend that's been incarcerated.
Okay.
He's behind bars planning and scheming, but then he's like talking to the Doctor like a normal person would.
Which is something we may or may not see
Yes.
again.
Across town, the Master begins his day with a cabinet meeting and proceeds to kill all of the members. Meanwhile, Vivian Rook, a reporter for the Sunday Mirror, finagles her way into seeing the Master's wife, Lucy Saxon, under the guise of an interview. She tells Mrs. Saxon that her husband is not who he seems. There is no real evidence that he existed prior to 18 months ago, after the downfall of Harriet Jones. His past is an obvious forgery, and she doesn't understand how others can't see it. The first time he was ever real was when he activated the Archangel satellite network. The Master walks in and introduces some friends, aliens that are inside floating black orbs who proceed to kill Mrs. Rook.
I liked his little speech to the cabinet about how they were all traitors to their parties because when they saw power, they went and followed him and
They
changed everything
left
they
their
had been
party.
saying.
Jumped on the bandwagon
against him.
type of
And they're
thing.
like, no, we're going for him now because he's the one who's going to
Win.
This scene I love because it reminds me of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman.
Yes.
And he is...
I guess it does.
This scene is almost like... It's not word for word, but like it's just almost exactly like the Joker scene in the museum where he presents Kim Basinger with the gas mask and everyone else goes down. And he's just having a grand old time. And that's all I could think of when I was watching it. And because I love that movie so much, I was like, oh, this is great. And you could argue, even though the Joker and Batman aren't friends, that the Doctor and the Master's relationship has echoes of that as well, because they never really end each other. It's kind of like...
Especially the John Sim, crazy
Yeah.
master.
Yes. So that's what I was thinking of during that cabinet meeting scene, which was very enjoyable.
Yeah, every time he took off his mask to speak, I was like so tense. Like, what's gonna happen? What is it gonna happen?
And he just repeated it.
Yeah. He just keeps like doing it and doing it and doing it, and
He's
yeah.
very casual about it, too.
Yeah,
Well, this is the mask that's going to not kill me.
he's
But
very
gas is
fun to
gonna kill you.
watch. Like he's got good character, good presence on the screen. Really plays off David Tennant well.
Yeah, but it's funny. He makes David Tennant look like very stoic in comparison, which is like, whoa, that's weird, but interesting.
That might have been one of the reasons why they made the master crazier.
that's a good
To
point.
balance the manicness and childishness.
Which we don't
Of
see
Tenet.
in this episode
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But that might be because I would love to know from Russell. I don't think
Yeah, because if you have two people at the same level, then nothing is at
Yeah, but
that
they-
level.
Right.
You have to have one like opposite and ebb and flow.
Yeah, but they could have just had him be more serious.
Which one, the master?
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have worked as much.
wouldn't
I mean,
have
I know
that
a lot
great
of people
confidence.
they don't like John. They don't like John Sim when he's manic and crazy. It's really over the top. But I don't know if you'd had like the master with the third Doctor. He's
That
much
version?
more calm and sedate, you know,
And calculating.
And I think it really would have it wouldn't have felt right with the speed that they were trying to tell the story.
Also, his recklessness and his craziness, it just makes him scarier.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true.
The same way, again, that the Joker is a terrifying villain. 'Cause it's like, you have no idea what he's going to do next. You don't even really know what his end game is. It just makes it more threatening.
And if he's the more unpredictable he is.
Well, and not only unpredictable, but so calculated. Like having the gas there at the first cabinet meeting, you know, like that's pre-planning. Even though in a television show, like you just write it and it's pre-planned, but still, I mean, it goes to the like he put the gas on the table. He had the gas mask ready for himself, and I think later we see more of that calculation where he's always like a step or two ahead of the Doctor, but he's still crazy. So you're like, you know, you have both sides of that coin. Like he's crazy but calculating, makes for a great villain.
And I don't mean to keep beating a dead horse here, but that also reminds me of Heath Ledger's Joker when he's at the table with all the gangsters and he has the bomb in his jacket.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Well, good study for making a villain. If anyone out there is going to be writing a villain, you got the Joker, you have Magneto, and
The master.
X. Yeah. This is a good like tearing apart, breaking down to build back up. If you need a good villain, look at these examples and crib as much as you can.
And I think just the right amount was
Yeah.
stolen or borrowed. Like, it doesn't feel like a cheap knockoff.
Yeah.
It just brings up the same emotions.
Inspired by.
Yeah, inspired by. There you go.
You could also listen to Heather's other podcast, Life According to Batman.
I do enjoy Batman, okay? He and the Doctor have some similarities.
I believe it's Batman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When the master comes in and Vivian is talking to Lucy, it looks like she almost can get her to say there's something going on, confirm it. But Lucy then says, no, I made my choice. And the master calls her the faithful companion. And that is the difference of what the master is looking for in a companion and what the Doctor is looking for. They both have a faithful companion, but one is blind faith, where the Doctor doesn't want that. And he has Martha, who will question him and will go, that doesn't make sense. What about this? You know, and sometimes he seems dismissive of her, but he likes that she does question, and she is just as faithful. But she has a brain. She has her thoughts.
And looking at Lucy and her mannerisms and her behavior, you could tell that he sought her out, like someone who
Right.
was weak and easily controlled. And
For me, I was like watching that scene and I was thinking, I was like on the same wavelength as Frank. I'm thinking, I'm comparing, you know, the master and his companion, the Doctor and his companions. But like, for me, I was like, oh, the what the master is looking for in a companion is someone he can use. You know, like he only has Lucy, right? That's
Lucy,
okay.
yeah.
He only has Lucy because he's a politician and he's got to be married. He's got to have a wife so that because people trust someone who's married over someone who's single or whatever. So like he has a companion just because he, out of necessity, has someone he can use. He doesn't need a companion, but he does to like keep up this Harold Saxon facade.
Yeah, because in the classic series, he never had a companion. So I think that's interesting that we have one now. It's kind of cool to see that duality in both the Doctor and the Master. Another thing I noted is that the Toclafane looks like an interrogation droid from Star Wars.
Yes.
Of course.
I said that / tiny Death Star. But yeah, when the spikes come out, it's like,
And they kill Mrs. Rook and they leave. Then they open the door, close the door. Open the door, hear her scream, close the door. Let's open the door, hear her scream, close the door.
Did we like that? Did we not like that?
That was a weird shift.
You like that?
I mean,
Oh,
it's
yes.
funny.
okay.
It's funny, but it's a weird shift in tone.
Yes.
And that happens kind of from this point on. The tone of this episode swings. Depending on my mood when I watch this episode, sometimes I'm fine with it, but it always doesn't really call attention to itself. And then there's other times when I watch it and I'm like, pick a mood.
But it shows the whole, I had that in my brain. Multiple personality psychology. Schizophrenia. Thank you. Both said at the same time. Perfect. Going back, it shows the schizophrenia that's going on with the Master, and that either he didn't regenerate well when they brought him back, or something, and the beating of the drums driving him totally bonkers. It just shows that he is switching back and forth. He doesn't have control over what he does, what he thinks. It's definitely affecting him in that aspect.
And I totally like that in the Master. I don't like it in the episode. I don't like it in the direction. I don't like a Scooby-Doo type joke of opening the door, hearing the scream, closing the door. I laughed the first time because it was unexpected. But when you watch it on repeated viewings, you're like, okay, you've entered into silly.
Maybe that's why, because I'm not a big fan of this Master's personality. I get what they're doing and everything that we were talking about, but I just find it grating, and I don't enjoy the episodes as much as a result. But maybe that's why, because it's uneven storytelling. I don't know if it's the actor, and I don't even think he's bad actor. It's just I don't enjoy it, and maybe that's why.
It's interesting. You hinted at that at the end of Utopia.
Right.
And so I had that in my mind while we were watching this episode for this podcast. And it did make me analyze his portrayal more. And I still like it. And I still like him. And so you are getting the serious Moriarty Master. And then you do get the crazy nut job.
Yeah. So it works story-wise, but I don't know. A lot of his manicness kept taking me out of it.
I can see that.
But the Master knows he's insane, and he relishes in it.
Which means he's not, according to...
Right, but he does. He's not trying to hold it in. He's letting that go.
Well,
so I think that's why sometimes for me it works. I understand joke going over and over and losing its impact, and after watching it a couple times, you're like, oh, it does seem more silly. But I think because you look at it going, no, he's insane, and he knows it, and he's going with it at this point. He's just letting it go.
Not to get into
Works
a
a little
big
better
thing,
for
but
me.
do you really think the Master knows he's insane? I think the Master thinks he's not because of the drums in his head. To him, he knows they're real. So to him, he's not crazy. There is something causing those drums to beat. And that's making him do all these crazy things. But I don't feel that the Master would recognize that he's insane. Because I think his first thing would be to say, no, those drum beats are real.
I think they've been going on so long, he's given into it.
Yes.
I think he knows the drum beats are real.
They're driving
and
him crazy.
At this point, it's gone too far, and he has gone crazy, and part of him knows it and is aware of it, and letting that part run rampant.
All right. Okay, I can see
and
that.
then so that he doesn't have to control it all the time. He lets it go, and then when
Right.
he needs to, he can bring it back and have those moments that are a lot more serious.
But I still do feel he would say, but it's not my fault because the drum beats are real.
I didn't say fault. I just said
No,
he's aware
I am.
he's crazy.
I am. I'm bringing that in. I'm merging what you think with what I think.
Also,
My brain hurts. No.
Isn't that Star Trek?
just
What you guys were saying about the two different tones of the Master, or the two different personalities, it reminded me of the TV movie in Eric Roberts, how he pointed out that there's this Terminator version of the Master, and then there's the
RuPaul.
Liberace version.
Liberace, there you go.
So I wonder if that was intentional, but probably not.
Yeah, maybe. I like the line, I think Vivian says it, he came to prominence by shooting down the Rachnos, which is from the Christmas Invasion. So,
Was it actually in the Christmas Invasion?
yes, in
Yeah,
the
it
Christmas
was.
Invasion, the tank is shooting, and
That-
we received orders from Mr. Saxon, fire.
Right.
Isn't that Runaway Bride?
You're right, it's Runaway
yeah,
Bride.
the first time we meet Donna.
Sorry, it's Runaway Bride.
Runaway Bride. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, there was a quick headline in Love and Monsters, but a lot of people missed that one. But the first time Saxon is mentioned and spoken and becomes the big mystery of the season is when shooting down the Rachnos. And they actually say this is when he became to prominence, is when he shot down the Rachnos.
It seems every season they have to have a miss. First it was Bad Wolf, then it was Torchwood, now it's Saxon.
Yep.
I was just gonna point out Brian has been referencing all these, like every episode that we've been recording. Brian's been like, "Oh, remember this? Oh, remember this?
Stick a pin in
Oh,
that one.
remember this?" So this is now the episode where all those
That's all comes together.
Yeah.
Because when they're done well, I really love that.
This run, I think, is
This
done.
run was good because it wasn't throwaway lines completely. Because you had the whole thing with Francine and Martha's mother and people at the house and all this kind of stuff. So it became like, wait, something bigger is going on. It wasn't a complete like Bad Wolf. You had no idea what Bad Wolf was until the last second. This one was like, wow, this is going to be important. This is going to be important. I like that. I think in this season it's balanced. I think in other seasons it actually overcompensates and dominates the seasons
I think
too
I know
much.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to point out but not explain yet is his gas mask has a symbol on it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw that last night because you pointed it out. The Master holds a televised press conference and states that he has been in contact with alien life. He shows a video of one of the orbs addressing the people of Earth with a message of peace. He announces that this alien species, the Toclafane, will introduce themselves to everyone the next morning, even to medical students. Martha, the doctor, and Jack react to that last statement and find a bomb attached to her television set. They escape just in time as Martha's apartment blows up. Martha calls her mom to warn her, but her mother tells her nothing is wrong and to come over. She says she and her father are getting back together and puts him on the phone. But he warns Martha to run. Saxon's people are already there and were using her parents to try and lure Martha. She calls her sister Tish, who is working at 10 Downing Street, but it is too late and hears her being dragged away. Martha, Jack, and the doctor drive frantically to her mother's home and see her parents being forcibly placed into a van. Her mother yells for them to go, and they drive away under a barrage of gunfire.
Did anybody notice the television set when they turn it around for the bomb?
I did.
TNT on it? No.
Above that is a sign that says Magpie Electronicals from the Idiot's Lantern.
That's cool.
I was glad to see Martha's mother get some sort of comeuppance for being such a horrible person.
Oh, wait a minute. She wasn't horrible. I mean, they have been working on her for a while, back in, Lazarus, saying that this guy's dangerous.
I know,
but Martha doesn't know who the doctor
she's such
is.
an
Traveling with him.
she's such an abrasive character. I just wanted her to shut up from moment one.
But in her defense, she figured out, it's like they turned on her.
Yeah, no, I know.
Going, everything I've done is wrong, and told Martha to leave.
It's good writing.
So
It's good writing. I just got a small little thrill out of seeing her
Right.
be wrong.
I get that.
That's understandable.
I like magnanimous people being proved wrong.
I like that her dad said, no,
Right.
run,
Yeah.
get out of there.
Yeah, I love that part.
The explosion, I thought, was really done well. I liked that.
It's the explosion that was caused by the big cartoon-like
Yeah.
Acme dynamite.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. But even with that cartoon thing of dynamite, this whole sequence is really tense and really, really scary, really well done. A minute earlier, we had Scooby-Doo screaming at a door. And this one, we've got, the government coming into a person's house and forcibly removing them. And, the big brother, they're tracking everybody. And, Tish is getting dragged away. And it's really, we're really feeling for our characters. So the tone is completely shifted the other way. And I love it, but it's like, pick one. Or make the transitions a little better.
And even the gunfire, shooting at the car and actually blowing out the window. That's something you don't see in Doctor Who.
Right.
They can't afford the glass breaking.
But
Exactly.
It broke. It broke.
But I think a lot of it was also editing. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Just the way it was edited and the quick shots and how it was done really added so much, I think, to
Awesome
the
music,
scene.
too.
That piece of music is all the strange creatures that I always like to mention. It's just one of my favorite pieces from this season.
It's great.
It's the one that I always think is the precursor to the 11th Doctor's theme.
Yeah, I can kind of hear that.
You say that every time, too.
Also, Martha's father, as he's being pulled into the van, like screaming, like, "You did this! You voted for him!" And like,
Yeah.
instead of saying like,
to the
it's-
neighbors, right?
yeah. And
Oh.
I was thinking, like, why would
It's a
you not
vision
use
of our
that
future right
opportunity
there.
to be like, he's going to kill you all. But instead, he's just got so much vengeance and hatred. But it is very powerful. That actor is barely in this show, but he earned his pay right there.
Yeah.
It's on his reel.
They do a good job with the not estranged, but the father figures that are the biological fathers. Like Pete wasn't in it that much in season 1, but yet we feel like been in it more when he comes in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, like you're saying with Martha's dad, same kind of effect.
I loved Martha's talking back to the doctor. I'll do what I like when she's going to call her
With that
parents.
finger
It
point.
just- I was like, yes, Martha. It's like you've had it with, taking the doctor's orders or dismissal or anything. It's you still believe in him, and it's not like she totally ditches him. Just no, I'm doing what I have to do.
But that's what
It's
I was
like there's
referring
no
to.
way you're going to stop me, and I love that he's like, yeah, I can't fight you right now with this.
That's what I was referring to earlier when saying that the doctor often, dismisses her. Like, this is her dismissing the doctor.
Right.
And this is not the last time she does it in this episode, so.
That's what I like about her so much because so later on, which I won't spoil, but where her character goes, the fact that she wasn't some unquestioning blind faith, like that sort of was hinted at the episode. Again, I'm not gonna, is it the Impossible Planet or where
42?
42?
Where
Yeah,
she's gonna be
42,
burned.
where we had that argument about is
Right.
she just blindly following her? Now, that's kind of like where that fuse gets lit. But that's why I feel when her character goes to where it goes to, it's not over the top because she still questions it and she's realistic about her point of view and she'll argue, but she knows that the doctor will always come through, even though if he's going to be a bit of an ass about it.
And she does listen
Right.
when they're driving away in the car, and she does listen to Jack. It takes a stern voice, but it's not yelling. But he's like, "No, listen to me. We got to get certain things done." So it's
She just knows the doctor's priorities are going to
Right.
not necessarily be about
Her
her family.
Right.
And she already knows that about him. And that's not something she's willing to roll with.
Behind the scenes, Freema actually drove that car when they were running away from the Saxon men, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
So
and
it wasn't
With the broken window?
uh-huh.
Really?
And she said she had a lot of fun doing that.
that would be fun.
because there was the shot that like there were 2 shots that had a different color palette, and I was like, is that a GoPro?
Yes, because it seems more grainy in that one shot.
As they were turning, that action shot is the grainy, but then afterwards when they're having the conversation, I
It's a little better.
think it looks
It's better.
more green screen at that point, or maybe it's just
I'm
a better.
talking about there's 2 shots
Yeah.
during the
The
whole
chase.
the chase,
Yeah.
and they're turning the car around. And
When was
you
the
get-
GoPro developed? Because this is 2007.
I mean, it's probably some other
Okay.
action camera,
Or like a lipstick camera.
something like
duct
that.
tape
Yeah.
to the.
Yeah.
So yeah, may not have been a GoPro, but more
Something,
like a lipstick
yeah.
camera. Or something.
Well, the GoPro first debuted in 2004.
Oh, wow.
Something that I realized when we were talking about, all the hints, Harold Saxon hints that has been happening throughout this season. Whenever we got the scene of Martha's mom calling her and being like, "Are you with him? Where are you?" I always thought that it was because Harold Saxon wanted the doctor. And now I'm realizing, oh no, they just wanted to get Martha. They were after Martha and they wanted to kill her.
No, they wanted
No,
Martha to get
To
to
get
the
to the
doctor.
doctor, yeah.
So they're still after the doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was
And they're
just
using
like-
Martha as leverage to do it.
Okay.
That's
It
just
just
on
seemed
Earth.
like this scene was less trying to get the doctor and more trying to kill Martha.
Well, the people, the humans,
Yeah.
don't know about the doctor. They know about Martha because that's that their connection has been Martha's family. So to them, it's get Martha. When in actuality, they would have gotten everybody in the car, and then the master would have come in later and said, "Yeah,
This is the one I want."
This is the one I want."
And it was kind of obvious, warning them that even a med student, tell them, yeah, I'm onto you. I know you're here. And that's when the doctor's okay. Then there's an obvious bomb. It's not one that he really hid well. So it was, no, I'm just toying with you and telling you I know what you're doing and where you are. And
He's making
I'm
it
in
easy
charge.
for her. Like, the threat is real, but he's making it easy for her to see the threat with a silly dynamite
To also have her run home.
and run home. Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
They ditch the car, and Martha is able to contact her brother Leo and tells him to go into hiding. Saxon breaks into the conversation and says he will find her. The doctor takes the phone and says they are the only Time Lords left. He pleads with the Master to leave Earth with him. The Master says it's too late, and that he, Martha, and Jack are now terrorists. Through a store window, they see their faces shown on a TV and decide to run. That night, hiding in a warehouse, the Doctor tells Martha and Jack about the Time Lord ritual of taking children and showing them the time vortex. The Doctor ran when he saw it, but he thinks the Master went mad. That is when the Master first heard the sound of drums.
Is this the first time in the new series that we've seen
Yeah, I
Gallifrey?
wanna
Or
say-
ever, right?
Like a
'Cause you
full-on-
said-
No, no.
In the new
In
series.
the
the
new
new
series.
series,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Because literally those costumes that those extras are wearing behind
Yeah.
the boy are original series costumes.
And they were
Yeah.
borrowed from the Doctor Who exhibition in Blackpool at the time.
I just feel like for 3 seasons we keep hearing about Gallifrey, we keep hearing about the Time Lords, and all this like teasing, and then we see it, and it's so worth it. Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's like I love that scene so much more because they've been teasing us for so long, and when they finally show it, it was really cool.
Wasn't it somewhere there was an interview where they were actually hesitant to show other Time Lords on Gallifrey because of the costumes?
Oh, yes, that's right.
They were
did.
very worried that the costumes were going to look utterly ridiculous because they think they're utterly ridiculous. The high
the high
collars
collar,
and the
yeah.
silliness of it. And it's like, yeah, but then look at how you filmed it. You know, you made it very moody. You've made it perfectly, and it seems very alien, and it doesn't seem so, cardboardy like it does in the classic series. So then I think they gained confidence as they went along.
I was thinking like Queen Amidala fashion. Like,
I'm right there with you. I'm so glad for that, great glimpse of Gallifrey. so much fun.
Right glimpse of Gallifrey.
This is the first time that we have a televised Black Time Lord in that flashback. I think previously they were in novels and other things, but never on TV. And the collars that we see, I think, were first used in The Deadly Assassin with Tom Baker. So those are probably the same ones.
Yeah, I think it was the Deadly Assassin that first introduced that look that stuck.
Yeah, because previous to that, in the War Games, they just wore like the black and white outfits, which
Yeah.
is similar to what the young Master is wearing in the
Yeah.
flashback.
So when they show the time vortex to these young kids, what do they want to happen? If the Doctor ran and the Master went nuts, what result are they hoping for?
Some are also inspired, but they say when they look into it, so they can be their leaders and then higher
they're
up Time
weeding out
Lords
the
and all this.
weaklings, basically.
Right. So both the Master and the Doctor were the weaklings.
Well, because before the Doctor is like considered a rogue Time Lord. He's
Right.
not,
Right.
an upstanding citizen of
Gotcha.
Gallifrey.
It's like medical school. If you can't, dissect a cadaver, you get sick. It's just not for you. You can go into a different aspect of it. But
And why at the tender age of 8?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe 8 looks like 100 to us.
Yeah, that's true. That's eight to them is
Good point.
not 8 to us.
Also, if they're children, how do they just regenerate into an adult at some point, or
Well, no,
I
you're
don't
born.
want to open this can of worms here.
How I
but-
always view it is you're born as a baby, you grow to adulthood. If something happens to you, you regenerate along the way, or you
Right, they'll
live out to
still
be an old
age.
man.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
like
you
we
become
see
an
at the
old
end of the 11th Doctor that
right. You'll eventually be an old man and regenerate into something else.
Okay.
this is a phone conversation that we've been,
Love
talking about at the beginning, in the conversation between the Doctor and the Master, and this is when the Master has his mental, capability and facility. So he's talking about it, and that was
And
a
he's
great
calm.
scene.
Yeah.
I thought he really.
I loved his
does
line
well on
where
that.
I love how he doesn't know what happened at the end of the Time War.
Because he wouldn't.
They wanted him to fight in the Time War. And I love his line where he says, I didn't want to do it. I ran to the end of the galaxy and hid as a human. That's why he did it. He did it to escape the Time War. And so then the Doctor has to explain to him the horrors at the end of the Time War and that everybody's gone, which is a lot of information that we hadn't picked up yet. And I think the two of them just do it really, really well. I mean, because like we were saying, this is the calm Master, but he's more menacing this way. I mean, he's almost scarier this way.
Well, and his lust for information about, like, is this that conversation? Like, what did it feel like to destroy 2 civilizations? Yeah, you see that real desire for power in a way that's beyond, even being the prime minister of Earth. You see, like,
Well, England.
yeah.
UK.
Oh, yeah, prime minister of England. But eventually, like,
Eventually Earth.
his plans are more than just to take
Right.
over Earth. It's to be, like, a supreme kind of being in the universe.
Yeah, it's a great line because he says, "You must have felt like a god."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I picked up on that, like, almost longing that the
He's
master
jealous.
had to be jealous, or just to be like, so like you're like me now, right? Like you got a taste of
it.
that power, and now you want more.
You want to chase it.
Yeah.
And the doctor doesn't.
Going back a little bit with the Gallifrey flashback, the piece of music that is played is "This is Gallifrey, Our Childhood Home," and I think it's very fitting for that flashback.
I can't remember what it sounds like.
I'm not gonna.
This is Gallifrey, a childhood home.
So
We
take that,
won't-
but the opposite.
We won't
Not
roam.
that.
That's what they recite after they look at the time vortex.
Oh, right.
I had a question. The story that the master gives, is that from the classic series, or was that made up for this?
I think it was for this.
Yeah, I think it was for this. Yeah.
About being resurrected to be a
about
soldier?
like like at the end of
Because
the
there was
classic
no-
series, was
there-
he dead or something? Or
Well, the last
did
time we
they-
saw him was Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
It was in the movie.
In that
Oh,
TV
the-
movie.
right.
TV movie.
96.
Oh, I always
And then
forget
how
about
did that end?
He went into the
Eye of Harmony.
in the heart of the TARDIS.
Gets sucked in or something like that.
Yeah, so somehow.
He fell down a hole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
you know how it is. The villain comes
That was the
back.
trend in movies back then. People falling
Villain
off from
comes
high.
back. It always comes back.
If you don't see them die,
Right,
Right.
right.
they're
And even then-
probably not dead.
Yeah.
Just mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
Just
Mostly.
slightly alive.
So yeah, so the Time Lords did something to bring him back.
I wonder why, though. Why
Or
were they
they
like,
also
this
did-
guy would be a good soldier?
Yeah, right. The one who's crazy.
Well, he
yeah.
is.
Yeah. They
yeah,
could just
you know
send
that
him
guy
out
who
there.
called himself the Master? Get him over here.
Because they need someone to do stuff that they don't feel is proper for them to do.
And if he dies in the process, they
That's
don't
right.
care.
And someone who could
okay.
think outside the box.
So,
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Doctor, the Master would have won a lot.
so the spin-off is Suicide Squad, but set in Gallifrey during the Time War.
Is it Suicide Squad
careful.
with a question mark because they can regenerate?
Yes.
Suicide
Suicide.
Squad.
What?
I like the other quick reference to Torchwood here. Oh yeah, and tell Jack his little friends I sent him on a
Himalayas.
goose
Wild
chase
goose
to the
chase.
Himalayas.
Yeah.
Hey, where's the Torchwood people?
They could
You know,
help.
They'd be
Yeah.
fighting this, but no, they're off in the Himalayas. Probably fighting with each other because, that's what they do.
Or sleeping with each other.
Yeah,
Or
I was gonna
sleeping.
say.
And fighting.
Because they need body warmth in the cold.
Of course.
Yeah.
I gotta watch this Torchwood.
But then Jack's also like trying to explain to the Doctor, no, I changed them.
Yes.
No, they're good. No.
I like that.
I thought of you when they go into the warehouse to be safe.
With the color palette changing.
That's a very blue warehouse.
Thank you for noticing.
Yes, I did notice. It's very blue.
Behind the scenes on that, the Doctor and Jack are eating chips, or as we Americans call them, French fries. It was a cold night. They started off warm, did multiple takes. They started becoming, annoyed and sick of eating cold fries at the end. And Freema was glad that, for continuity's sake, she did not take a bite.
Yeah, the one that David Tennant puts in his mouth, even as he's saying they're good, just looks like it disgusting. I was like, that just looks gross. As a connoisseur of the French fry.
I'm always surprised that they never seem to take Jack's Americanness into some of these. Like he calls them chips, where I think if it was an American production with a British person, we would have had them call what we call French fries chips,
Yeah.
and made a point oh, that's because he's British, where maybe they do more
Sometimes they do.
but yeah,
'Cause he
whenever
did
it
say
slips,
cell phone.
right, instead of
He
mobile.
doesn't say mobile.
Right.
Well, I just watched The Empty Child. He says barrage balloon.
Instead
as opposed
of
to barrage.
Barrage.
balloon.
Oh, okay.
But he's not.
Isn't he American in the
American.
show?
Yeah, he's not.
In the show,
Oh, he's from the
though. In the show,
future,
yes.
but he's
He's from a different planet.
He's from a different
Okay.
planet. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then he took on.
He took on the persona of it.
Oops. Spoiler if you're watching Torchwood.
But he has an American accent.
Right, but he has an American accent, but that doesn't mean he was
Yeah.
raised in America.
Right, but we project that he is
Right.
American on that.
So I think
All
on
right,
this
I'll
one you
allow
have to give a
that.
little bit
Yeah.
more of a leeway for Jack.
Because they definitely love to hyper-Americanize the Americans on this show, which
Right.
So we'll
we
talk
see
about
a
the
little
second-
bit
Yes.
later.
Yes, yes.
So that's actually a valid question.
No, yeah,
I think.
thank you.
Yes.
Just because he does play as an American,
Right.
And maybe that's just my own
No, I agree with you.
projection.
Jack confesses that he works for Torchwood, but insists that it is different now. He receives a pre-recorded message from Vivian Rook with all her research about Saxon and the Archangel Network, which is a series of satellites that all communications use. The Doctor uses his sonic on a cell phone and discovers the 4 beats of the drums is a hidden signal constantly being transmitted. It has a hypnotic effect, making people accept Saxon at his word and to vote for him. The Doctor uses the signal on spare keys to the Tardis to create wearable perception filters so people will not notice them. They head to the airport where the President of the United States has just landed. He tells Saxon that UNIT is taking control and will make first contact with the Toclafane aboard the UNIT aircraft carrier Valiant. The President leaves as a van pulls up carrying Martha's family. Saxon takes them to a private plane and leaves for the Valiant. The Doctor, Jack, and Martha use the vortex manipulator to transfer to the aircraft carrier as well.
So this is the part where I like the Jack conversation with the Doctor about Torchwood is different.
Yeah, it's better. I changed it in your honor.
Yeah.
I like that the Doctor doesn't say anything back, though, right?
He's got other things to deal with.
That's true, but
But yeah, he's mad,
was-
though. You know, he is angry for a moment, but then is like, "All right, but we got to get down to business."
Yeah, but he's a little out of touch. I mean, a lot of time has passed. Get over it. No, I'm kidding. But
I like the perception filters, the wearable ones. That,
Yeah.
you know, the TARDIS is meant to really kind of blend in and not be seen. That's part of what the TARDIS is. So the keys work, and then amplifying that and making it go to everybody's brain through the network, the Archangel Network. I thought that was nicely done, and I didn't see that coming.
Use it
That's really
against him?
nice of putting those two things together. I liked it.
Yeah, they use the
that-
Archangel Network against him.
they do a great job of explaining it, but not such a great job of showing it. Like, it just kind of pans to the left a little when Martha's trying to look at the Doctor, and I'm like,
And doesn't it just kind of like...
still see him.
I like that because he's saying it doesn't make you invisible. It just makes you part of the background that you're not really paying attention. So your focus goes to something else and you're not looking at it. You start wailing your arms, you're going to be drawing attention.
Maybe if he was a little blurry or
yeah,
something.
a little blurry. And then when he waved his arm, he became
Right.
like
Or fade out a little bit so, you know, transparent feel rather than blurry. Or,
Yeah.
Maybe I just wanted a little bit
Little
more.
more.
I didn't want him to be invisible. No.
Right.
But
I
to
can
me,
say they
it
can
just
go
seemed,
more, but I liked what they did.
it seemed like an inexpensive decision.
Which probably was why they decided that.
Probably.
But what they really wanted to make it like, you know, when you fancy someone and that person doesn't even know you exist.
oh right, we have to
Bonk,
talk about
too,
that
huh?
on the
line.
head.
Yeah, I did
But
not
the
like that.
only thing that makes this one okay, and because I don't like any of the other ones, is Jack. Because he says you too.
Because I had the same thought, but I didn't think anything of it until you put it into words why you like that.
That's why I like it now because
Yeah.
because Jack is saying, yeah, I got a thing for the Doctor too. That's kind of cool, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's the end of it.
But backing up to the keys, that montage of the Doctor building it, I thought it was going to be something else by the end
I
of
know.
it.
I was so disappointed
I
the
was like,
first time. I remember
so-
the first
yeah.
time I watched this. And he's like, there they are. And I'm like, did you like glue a Lego to a key and
Yeah.
put it on some twine? Like, I don't get
I'm like, that's it? Okay.
I thought he was going to like build up this massive thing. And
He did. We just can't see it.
And I think it's during this scene is that the Doctor's theme is used a little bit in, I think it's Martha's Quest is the name of the piece of music. But it has that, what we would recognize as the choir, the haunting choir for the Doctor's theme. They use it musically, and it's different. I think it's in a major key. I was just like, that is so familiar, but
Yeah.
I like the use of it here.
The Doctor says he's not there to kill the Master, he's there to save him, which just shows all the guilt for what he did during the Time War. And it's like, I understand you want to save another Time Lord, but this one? Really?
he
But
never-
yeah,
he seems
which
to
is
be
kind of
able
the
to,
point of the whole show.
He seems to be able to turn a blind eye to all the dead people that
Right.
the Master killed. And I get it. It's what makes it so interesting of a relationship, but
But if that's the last one of your kind,
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, but it's amazing that maybe he has guilt for that too.
And if you can regenerate into a woman, you can still repopulate with Time Lords. The last of his kind. It's like, well, okay, never mind.
Unless then the other one also regenerates
Well, they go
into
back and
a
forth.
woman, and then
Like that will ever happen.
I got the confrontation between the president and Saxon just has a new meaning now because there's oh, so you're, what makes you in charge? And since Britain elected an ass, it's like, oh,
That one really hit home.
that hurts. Really hurts.
The Master's long coat has a red lining.
Yes.
You guys notice that?
Yeah,
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's a homage to the third Doctor, John Pertwee. But then they used it for the 12th Doctor as well, Peter Capaldi.
Because it really looks like Capaldi's coat.
Yes.
It could
You'll find out who
also-
Capaldi is soon.
It could also show his inner evil. Or something. I don't know. I know how you guys like colors. So.
Right.
Except for Josh, he's colorblind.
Yeah.
Where did you get that small trombone?
I bring it with me everywhere.
To Martha's surprise, the Valiant is a huge flying ship hovering over London. When Saxon was Minister of Defense, he helped design the ship. The Doctor, Martha, and Jack are making their way to the bridge, but stop when the Doctor feels the TARDIS nearby. They enter the TARDIS, but the Master has altered it. He has built a paradox machine around the console, which will activate 2 minutes after first contact.
Good movie. Good television episode, too. The President begins a live telecast, which will be carried by the Archangel Network. The Doctor, Martha, and Jack sneak into the bridge using the perception filters. The Doctor plans to place his filter on the Master so everyone will see him as he really is.
Can I interrupt here and talk that they're cutting to the broadcast all over
The world.
world?
well,
Yeah.
England and America.
But you had other languages, so...
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
But the ones they have for the America students, the college students watching, was, to me, just hysterical in the way they represented it. Each person was wearing a sports jacket, with
Like a
the Letterman on
Letterman,
it
yeah.
and their sports team. They had a pizza box,
had
which had
an-
an American flag on it. It had a popcorn box that was decked out with an American flag on it.
Didn't they have Cheetos?
And things, it just was so stereotypical. I just kept laughing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
And Trinity Wells.
Yep, she's back.
I love Trinity Wells.
Lachelle Carl.
The Toclafane appear and insist on talking to the Master. Saxon rises and orders them to kill the President. He then captures the Doctor and kills Jack. As a punishment, he uses the Doctor's DNA from his severed hand and Lazarus's genetic manipulation technology to age the Doctor over 100 years. Jack comes back to life and tells Martha to teleport out. He gives her the vortex manipulator, but Martha first goes to check on the Doctor as Saxon brings in her family at gunpoint. The paradox machine activates and opens a rift in the sky, allowing 6 billion Toclafane to descend upon Earth and begin to slaughter 10% of all the humans. Reluctantly, Martha leaves the Doctor and transports to Earth, miles from a devastated London.
Couple things here. The music that plays when the Toclafane descend upon Earth is Voodoo Child by the Rogue Traders.
Which you can hear on the King Trivia Doctor Who trivia game soundtrack.
Oh.
Really?
Oh yeah, I picked out all the music from this show. I went
Did
crazy.
you make a Spotify list?
No, I went old school, like
Oh.
Download it.
iPod.
So Voodoo Child is written by Elvis Costello, James Ash, and Steve Davis. They sample Pump It Up. They use the riff from Elvis Costello's Pump It Up in Voodoo Child. So if you hear that song, it'll sound familiar. And then the symbol you can see it on the chairs of the Valiant on the bridge, is the same symbol that's on the gas mask of the Master in the conference room, cabinet meeting. So it's weird that they foreshadowed that. Like, did he take that from the overhead compartment and bring it into the cabinet meeting?
I mean,
Well,
it's
because
plausible.
he had built the
The ship,
airship.
yeah.
So yeah, he has all those extra pieces.
One thing I thought was weird is the President begins his speech or begins talking to the Toclafane, and he says, "I'm President-elect of the United States." And it's like, well, okay, if you're President-elect, then you ain't squat
I thought he said he was president-elect of the UN.
in the United States.
United States. Yeah.
Okay.
And they
Representative of the UN.
represent, yes.
Okay.
And when you're President-elect, you don't have nothing. You would not be there.
Yeah.
The President is still the President when you're the President-elect.
Yeah, that is strange.
Is it different in like the United Kingdom government?
Well, the thing about the United Kingdom is when you're elected Prime Minister, you're living in number 10 the next day.
Okay.
You know, you move in and
But
it's
is that
there's no
travel?
transition.
But maybe they were trying to get the aliens to get it. Like, I am an elected.
Official representing humanity.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a weird.
yeah.
It came out of nowhere.
So I think that was
Yeah.
just a
Weird.
script
It's
goof.
a weird script
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
When President Winter showed up with the Master on the tarmac and saying, no, UN has policy, we're going to have a unit do all this. And they've talked to me, or I've talked to them, and I'm going to be doing this. He didn't seem a real, bad person. He's just like, no, this is what's going on, and we're taking over because you don't have, we don't believe in you. Those people didn't, and the UN already has set these protocols in place, and you're usurping that. And so, no, we're doing it this way. But then, as you can see going on, he's like, don't show the UN symbols, put the presidential symbol up, and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, you're just as much of a jerk as,
which the president,
you think of as
any
being a
president would do.
I literally wrote, U.S. President Winters is most American dude ever.
That's so embarrassing.
He's Canadian, the actor.
Well,
No, but the president.
that's why I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
President Winters and not the actor, because, man, he was really like...
He does that accent pretty well.
He was very reflective of...
What a typical, like they would see us, I guess, or to see the
I mean,
politicians.
that's what they see on TV.
Yeah.
Right. And then that line just, when they want to talk to Mr. Master, the one that they know. Well, I can be your master if God wants it to be that way.
That's weird.
I
Like,
Wow, okay,
cringed.
Russell. That one is definitely just on Russell putting us into this.
that reminded me
so
of
uncomfortable.
that one reminded me of Ghostbusters. I'm the Keymaster.
If someone asks if you are a god, you say yes.
The Master gives Lucy a jelly baby and takes one for
Yes, I
himself.
noticed
A
that.
fourth Doctor reference.
Proper use of the word decimate.
I love it.
Yes.
Decimate means to remove something by 10%. If you get rid of everything, you annihilate it.
Oh my gosh. I have just...
Learn something.
I can't even believe it. I mean,
I
how
can't.
much sense does that make? And I never thought about it.
Add the education tag to our podcast listing.
I don't care. Finally. It was like, yes,
Somebody uses it.
somebody uses it
And
right.
they really nail that word, too.
So since Arlene
Yeah.
is not here, I will
Comment
take
on
the
it.
religious tag and say, so when I'm giving my tithe, I'm decimating 10% of my income.
That's exactly what you're doing. I love the rift in the sky. I think that is an awesome effect.
Oh, it does look great.
It does.
Yeah.
And then it has that crash, zoom, and zoom out like Battlestar.
Yeah.
There is a, production flaw when the Master goes to the port window and leans to see the Toclafane descending. You can see that the set wobbles a little bit. It bends when he pushes his weight onto it.
Oh, how Doctor Who?
Yeah, so I was like, I don't think they did that on purpose, but it's very homage-y to the classic series. So watch that scene again closely and you'll see it bend.
Sounds like you keep saying Toclafane.
Toclafane.
I'm a Toclafane.
Also, the Master, the Doctor wants to know who the Toclafane are, and the Master leaves that open-ended for now. So obviously going to come up later. But he does say that if you knew who they were, it would break both your hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So you're from that moment on, you're trying to figure it out. Like, oh my God, what are they? Okay, are they Time Lords? Like, I don't know. What are
Right.
they? Yeah.
I do love that he does name them Toclafane because he knows the Doctor will know that word. I mean, because I can equate it to oh, well, here are these aliens and they're hobbits. It's like he knows that the Doctor's immediately going to be like, there's no such thing as Toclafane. I know there's no. So what are they? So he's just toying. He's just giving little bits of I'm annoying you. I'm annoying you. I'm annoying you.
They're from like Gallifreyan fairy tales.
Yeah,
is that
they're
what it is?
Gallifreyan fairy tales.
I'm glad that they put in the flashbacks because I was lost when the Master was going down memory lane and saying, well, I took your hand for you need the genetic material. And so they showed the scene from when his hand was severed. And remember the Lazarus experiment? And it's like, what? It's like, so they showed it going, oh, that's right. He aged and got younger during that and he's going to reverse it. So I'm glad they put that in because when you're watching it, it was such a long time ago.
Did they show how he actually got the hand? Did I miss that?
No.
Yes.
That's a maybe.
In the last episode in Utopia,
Yes, they show him take it.
Jacob.
Oh, that's
or
right,
the
yes.
Jacoby.
Jacoby, thank you, sorry.
See, that's
He picked up the hand and brought it into TARDIS when he got shot.
That's the bad part
Need
about
some help.
being a guest is my continuity's off, so could not remember how we got that.
But
stupid
those
hand.
are such little things throughout that Russell must have planned out in advance to use, and so made an episode about it, showing it, which did not pick up on at the first time I saw this. Going, okay, wait a minute, okay, and then as well so well that they did the flashbacks, then your mind goes, okay, now I got the whole story again. I could see just as little bits. So I think they needed that desperately, and I'm glad they put that in.
This is also a callback to our episode on the Lazarus experiment.
Experiment.
Thank you. Remember we were talking about his equipment and it looked kind of TARDIS-ish, and looked a little Gallifreyan. And now we know why. Because the Time Lord was helping him fund it and giving him ideas on how to use it.
And Saxon was
right.
mentioned in that episode.
Yeah. Saxon was mentioned,
That's where he got his funding.
Yeah. And then we also know why Tish was selected
Right.
From that episode.
and promoted so quickly.
Oh, in the earlier episode.
Right.
Right.
Because the master wants to keep the family nearby.
It's all a web.
Of lies.
Because really, I mean, Tish, it's like, oh yeah, you'd be hired for number 10.
But even now in this episode, we're already sort of starting the web for future episodes where we're going to be like, oh my God, they mentioned that all the way back in this one.
Right.
So it's like,
Or did they?
so it's like the web is just continuing from here. This hand.
And also, there's also no big mystery about Leo, her brother. They just couldn't get the actor for very long. They wanted the actor, so Leo would have been captured as well.
Yeah.
But the actor just wasn't available, so they just did that one quick shot of him on the pier.
And that works. I'm glad one of them
Yeah.
didn't get captured.
Got away. Yeah.
And I love how she's just like, well, he has some sense. He got away.
Right.
So we haven't talked about the Master's laser screwdriver. Russell decided not to bring back the Master's old weapon. It's called the Tissue Compression Eliminator.
Yes, it is.
It's a horrible weapon. It turns a person into the size of a doll and compresses their tissue so much that they are dead.
Oh
So
my gosh.
the Master goes around, and then you see his victims are like little toy dolls everywhere. I'm like, how is this threatening in any way possible? So I was so glad when he busted out a laser screwdriver rather than that old thing that he would use.
Now, I've never seen the old Who, but that actually sounds really scary to me.
Not when you see it
Not when you
in
see it.
practice.
I know, it does sound pretty creepy. Dolls are usually creepy.
Right? Okay, but
Goodness,
yeah, maybe
that
it's...
was
I don't want to
that
be
was
compressed.
that was the best prop you could come up with to look like a person. It's terrible.
Okay.
I remember it in the Deadly Assassin. I think there's a cannon and a guy is manning it. The Master comes up and he uses it on him, and then the cannon position is empty. The Doctor goes in and he opens up whatever panel that is, and he just pulls out a doll, and you're like, what just happened? That's weird.
Oh, look, the Master was here.
Okay.
It's really bad.
And then there's a Fifth Doctor episode, I think it's Legopolis, where there's technicians working on the TARDIS to fix it, and the Master turns all of them into dolls. And it's just weird to see like a whole city turned into dolls.
I thought the old age makeup was great.
Yes,
in
I
this
remember.
episode.
I've been waiting to talk about this makeup since we started the podcast. Whenever age makeup comes up, it's one of the best ones I've ever seen.
It was so good.
The only thing I wish they would have done would give him some like foggy contact lenses.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a problem when
Yeah.
they age people is their eyes don't get smaller, like the muscles around the eyes sort of stay the same. But it was really good.
Yeah, this aging done to the David Tennant at this point is different from Human Nature. If you remember that was the first time he was put
Yes,
into age
yes.
makeup. They did it differently because he's aging 100 years
Right.
rather than a normal human lifespan.
Right.
Or 100 years plus whatever he is now.
Also, this had to hold up to days and days of shooting, whereas the other one was probably
The
just
one
a
scene.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this makeup, they weren't afraid to go very close with the camera, and I
Yeah.
think
True.
that sells it better because you see it up close and you're still like, wow, that
They
looks
probably
really good.
had some new technique that they were, really trying to showcase.
And I know you guys are huge Disney fans, so did anyone else think of like Ursula turning people into like little
Yeah.
seaweed? Because I totally did.
I don't like the effect of it happening, the sped up footage.
Yeah.
But then when you finally see him, it's like, okay, good makeup.
How could they have done it? What were other options?
I don't know.
Maybe they were going for that sort of stylized hand crank effect, that you see in Sam Raimi movies or in the.
I think they're trying to say he's physically aging 100
Yeah,
years
but
in a
they-
few seconds.
But that-
Literally.
But for them to come up with that
But-
effect, you never know. Sometimes they have an idea, you try it, you don't know it didn't work until it's done, and you don't have the money to do it again. But
Would have
no,
been
I
cool
agree.
if he just had his back turned and then he turned around and we saw that face.
Yeah. Where's my soup?
Yeah, which is
Well, people like soup.
well,
That's how
they
you know
can't
they're all-
choose, so give them a break. Jeez.
That's right.
When they find the paradox machine attached to the console in the TARDIS, we see a little bit of our normal Doctor when they don't know what to do. Martha and Jack don't know what to do, and he goes, "Well, I have a plan." They go, "Oh, didn't I tell you that?" And he smiles and then leaves. his plan makes no sense.
None.
It's way
at
too
this point.
simple.
Because the perception filter is supposed to stop people from seeing you, and for him to go, oh, well, I'm going to take mine off and put it on, the master so everybody can see who he is, kind of thing. Makes no sense, but you don't think about it until afterwards. And then it was after the president gets killed that he takes off his perception, and to be caught is what it looked like to me.
Also, the master says, like, did you really think that would work on me?
Right.
Which you'd think the doctor would.
No.
he wouldn't think that, yeah.
I think they were trying to say that if you put the perception filter on the master, the hypnotism would break.
Because no one paid attention.
Well,
no one
or
noticed him as much.
something. It would just reveal. But the way they wrote it was like, and suddenly he's going to look like a demon,
yeah.
and it's not. No, it's he's still going to be the master.
Yeah, it's not like people would
I
suddenly-
think it would break the hypnotic thing, and I wish that had been written a little better. And what really scares me is, we know now people would still follow him, so it wouldn't have made any difference.
An Easter egg here. The U.S. President Winter states that unit protocols for alien contact were established in 1968. That is the year UNIT was introduced in this episode, The Invasion.
Oh, cool.
Oh, at the end, I understand kind of her reasoning, but I was at first expecting Martha to take Jack with her when she teleported, and then she kind of just disconnected from her family and from the doctor and from Jack. And if I was Jack, because it seemed like she had a good, like she backed away from him and still had a clearer path to get to Jack to at least save him as well. I mean, I understand having to set up Martha's story so she can have her own thing going, and I'm sure Jack becomes important. I forget the next episode, but I'm sure it becomes important being under the Master's control or being a tool for torture or whatever. But at the time, like, Martha, save Jack. Come on.
You need help.
Yeah.
We don't know really where Martha's going or what she's planning on doing.
All we know is she'll be back.
Right. They leave it very ambiguous. And I have memories of seeing this episode for the first time and thinking, like, oh, like, what the heck are you going to do? Seriously.
Why do you
like,
leave? Right. And
Well,
You just abandon everyone.
I think I watch it, and even though she does say I'll be back, she doesn't have a plan.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that's what they want you to think.
right.
No, but I know what you guys are saying. But even so, she needs to figure things out.
Yeah.
It's not clear to her,
And she can't do anything there.
I thought,
she's hiding. I
No.
think she's running into the forest to hide.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like
I
she
thought
can't,
Freeman really played it well, though. I mean, when she left, I really felt for her. Her
Oh,
leaving
yeah.
everybody
When she
that
looks
she
at her
loves
mom
up
and-
on there. And
yeah.
oh, Martha.
She does. She's great, and she doesn't get enough credit.
I like her better than Rose.
I agree with that.
I like her different than Rose.
I agree with that.
The sound of drums. Who is this episode good for? Or this episode is good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
I'm torn between fan of the show and casual, just because I really, really like this episode. I think it's really well done, even with the tone shifts. I watch it a lot, but it has so much history to it. There's so much knowledge that you need to know in order to completely understand what's going on, that if you came in cold, you'd be completely lost. But I really, really like it. So I'm going to lean towards a casual person, somebody who's familiar with Doctor Who. If you know at least the basics of the show, you should be able to watch this and have a good time.
I, too, am going to go with casual viewer, mostly because of the Doctor character himself. The Doctor that we see in this episode is not the Doctor that most fans are expecting. He's not goofy. He doesn't do crazy stuff. He's just very serious most of the episode. And if you're just somebody watching the show for the first time, like you said, there's a lot of things that you're not going to understand. But then on top of that, you're going to have a Doctor that isn't that much fun, which is fine in the context of the episode. But as an outsider just coming in, you're going to be like, this is the Doctor. He doesn't seem to know what's going on, and he's grumpy all the time. So if you're seeing it out of context and, just casually flipping through the channels, no familiarity with the Doctor at all, I don't think it's going to do much for you. So I would say a casual viewer, but who knows the show.
basics, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with all that, but I would say for those reasons, should be a fan, because someone who's a little bit more casual, I think this is a little spoilery even, because it is such a geek out on a lot of the Doctor Who lore that we've seen and heard and all that stuff. And I think if you're not an avid fan, you may enjoy some of the stuff, but there's too much stuff going on that you just wouldn't be able to plug into.
You'd feel like you were excluded.
Yeah,
from
like
something.
you get it, and it wouldn't turn you off to the show, but you probably wouldn't follow it very well, and it would make you want to watch more episodes to see what they were talking about, rather than just sit back and enjoy this episode. It's not something I usually say, but I'm saying for a fan.
Yeah, I hear what you guys are all saying. And I think me personally, I would put it in the casual, because it does have a lot of subjects and meat where you do need to have a familiarity with at least some of the Saxon setup to really get the payoff. But today, I'm going to say casual. Maybe tomorrow I would have said fan. But I think there's enough like action, and you do get to see the Doctor, and it is on Earth, so it's not like too crazy out there where like somebody who was just a casual viewer like wouldn't be totally out of a context that they would.
It is
they
a
would get
fun
it.
episode.
And it is fun, yeah. You get to see the Doctor in a way that you don't often, which would not be good for a new person, but for a casual, like it does
Ooh,
give
it
you that
goes
other
there,
side.
huh,
Yeah.
sometimes?
Well, I think that Brian summed up nicely my feelings towards this episode. I'm also torn. And I was going to say casual until some of the stuff that Josh said, and now I'm leaning more towards fan. And I think I think that this is a good episode. I think only a fan who's watching every single episode in succession in order is going to be able to enjoy this episode the way that it was meant to be viewed. So it's really good for a fan.
It's a culmination of a
Yeah.
lot of things that you sort of need to be familiar
Yeah.
with
Yeah, absolutely.
to enjoy it on all those levels. A casual fan can enjoy it just on its fun factor.
Is this good to introduce someone to Doctor Who? So, no, I don't think it's good for everybody or for the new viewer, because there's so much history involved. I'm between the casual and fan, and I've actually been going back and forth. So, I think if you were a casual fan who watched some of Martha's seasons, if that's where you were introduced and kind of knew the Lazarus experience, so you know her family background and stuff, I think then, yes, you could be a casual, would like this. But I'm going to go officially for fan, because there is so much, and because, like Heather said, the Doctor isn't the one that is typical throughout this season or any of the seasons. So that little caveat is, if those ones that you did see were Martha's, then yes, as a casual viewer, you could like it and get something out of it. But otherwise, I think a fan who knows more of what's going on, or watching all the episodes leading up to the season's end.
For me, it's also a fan, because this is the season finale of season 3, and I would want somebody to understand everything that's coming with this episode and all the homages and flashbacks, as opposed to being flashbacks that these are the first time you're seeing a flashback, rather than, oh yeah, I remember that episode. And the journey and the decisions that Martha goes through and the emotional things that she says, I don't think would impact you if this was your first episode. So that's why I'm putting it in the fan category. There are our thoughts on Sound of Drums. How do you feel about the tone of the Master? Did you like the change, or do you not like the change, and why? Let us know. Email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time, when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook.
At The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by our very own Auburn.
Find me at auburnbinkley.com.
You can find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcasts.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
You can leave comments there or email us at
whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
thanks to Russell,
Sydney Newman.
Verity Lambert.
Ron Grainer.
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Is that first edit?
I didn't know if you wanted to say something.
Spoiler.
Let's edit that out.
It's ridiculous.
That's not staying in.
I'll get that tonight when I'm.
All right, you can.
But yes,
edit
there
out.
is that.
Spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we can cut that.
Oh, yeah.
Brian's glaring at Eugene right now.
Never mind.
Cut that out.